That he doesn't want us to solve the border problem because he wants to blame Biden for it is really appalling.
He offered a solution early on and invited bipartisan work. Let's work on it to fix this. You know, we want to fix it. They want to run on it.
Lots of Republican leaders are out there saying this deal is basically as good as it's ever going to get. But of course, there is just one big problem. We all know the real reason Trump wants to tank this deal. He doesn't actually care about solving the problem at the border. He wants the problem. He wants the issue to run on is the fear-mongering.
When even Fox News are calling to attention the gross party-over-country politics of Republicans regarding the border, you know it's bad.
And one of the issues related to the border that he was trying to do. So you can't decide when you like Supreme Court decisions and when you don't. Democrats have had to learn that the hard way at times. So I think the Supreme Court will increasingly be weighing in here. But I found very interesting reporting we're getting today that Donald Trump and his allies are pressuring Republicans in Congress not to come to some sort of compromise on the border and immigration. We actually know that they're getting pretty close. Senators from both parties are working very hard here. Yesterday, Mitch McConnell told the Republican caucus that they're in a tough position because Trump doesn't actually want Biden to be able to, quote, get a win on this by signing something, even though signing that piece of bipartisan legislation would help with the border. Wouldn't fix it, but it would help. But there are a lot of Republicans who believe that this compromise, Democrats control the Senate and Republicans control the House. We have to compromise. They are close. Donald Trump is telling his allies not to vote for it so he can run on it in November. That, to me, is dereliction of duty. Biden is ready to sign something if Congress will send it to him. And
they had 2 years.
And Republicans should get on board.
After spending the past few months screaming about the need for drastic new measures regarding the border, when presented with the perfect opportunity to try and come to an agreement and strengthen resources at the border, Republicans, of course, have since retreated.
Right, which is why some people are saying, why not pass the $14 billion supplemental bill that President Biden has put before you to at least try to help with some of these issues?
That won't solve. That won't solve any of the problems I just articulated.
Right,
that won't do a darn thing.
Well, I'm sure the people in the Border Patrol agents that you're with think it might do something, at least in terms of making their job a little easier for the next month or so.
No, actually they don't.
They don't want the $14 billion?
Why? Because how can you possibly fearmonger over a resolution? There is no migrant caravan to campaign on if those put in power to actually govern, dare I say it, do so.
I mean, they don't want a deal, period, full stop. They don't want a deal. They don't want to make this a quote-unquote campaign win for Joe Biden. It says everything you need to know about the fraud that they're perpetuating on the issue of the border. They want to make this a political issue. Consistently, they have wanted to make it. As a border state governor, no one has to introduce me to this issue. We're the largest port in the Western Hemisphere in the state of California. We live this. And I think it is a disgrace what the Republican Party is doing, what Donald Trump is doing. And this is hidden in plain sight. He sent out a tweet or some truth, whatever, saying, kill it. And these guys are so weak. It's so pathetically weak, this Republican Party. And the new speaker said, oh, yes, sir, what else would you like us to do? We don't care about America. We don't care about our freedoms and liberties. We care about politics exclusively at the expense of the American people, because all we care about is winning for winning's sake. That is shameful.
While discussing this matter on MSNBC, former White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki pointed out this gross dereliction of duty. The fact that Republicans don't want to fix something that they can run on. They just want chaos.
Senate Republicans have been working on a bipartisan package that includes increased border security, something they say they want, and new funding also for Ukraine. It's definitely imperfect, this bill. But just sticking with the Republican electorate here, lots of Republican leaders are out there saying this deal is basically as good as it's ever going to get. But of course, there is just one big problem.
The president actually just got off the phone with me right before the show, and he said he has spoken to you about this deal and that he is against it, and he urged you to be against this deal. He was President Trump was extremely adamant about that. Your reaction to that, given the fact that, look, he knows how to do this enforcement stuff. You don't need some new bill coming out of the Senate to get the border enforced.
Yeah, President Trump is not wrong. He and I have been talking about this pretty frequently. I talked to him night before last about the same subject.
There it is. You can always rely on Mike Johnson, by the way, to take direction from his boss, Donald Trump, when necessary. But we all know the real reason Trump wants to tank this deal. He doesn't actually care about solving the problem at the border. He wants the problem. He wants the issue to run on because it is the fear-mongering, the scare tactics that he is betting on to excite his voters and his base.
And neither they or their cult leader are hiding it. Trump has now openly said that he's hoping for a recession, gas prices to go up, and that the border issue remain unresolved so that he can bolster his chances.
The fear among Trump and his allies that cutting a deal could give Joe Biden something to campaign on, clearly driving the negotiations, clearly driving the political reality and the legislative outlook here on this major issue, John.
Well, we'll find out if there are even negotiations anymore after what McConnell said and where Trump stands at this point. We'll have to see what happens next.
I mean, for anyone not awake to US politics, right, the sheer stupidity of it can be summarized over this specific issue. Donald Trump, currently not in office, was able to kill a GOP bill to stop the border and fentanyl crisis so that he can use it as an election issue to run on, then inherit back if he gets in office. Just for a second, ponder how dumb that is. How irresponsible, selfish, but very much common it is in US politics.
And we offered a solution early on and invited bipartisan work. Let's work on it to fix this. And in fact, we have right now a proposal for $14 billion so that we can put more resources to address this very situation. And we hope and are really trying to compel in particular some of the Republicans in Congress to participate in the solution. But sadly, we want to fix it. They want to run on it. They want a political issue to run on in November.
Well, it's working, honestly.
Well, I think that, listen, I go back to where I started. The situation is such that the system is broken and it needs to be fixed, and we have offered a solution. And real leaders ought to lead on this, meaning not play politics with it, but work with us to fix the problem.
It's not as if this is some radical bill that opens the floodgates that Republicans vehemently oppose. There are countless Republican officials who are calling to attention how egregious it is that this bipartisan bill be halted for political motivation, to the point in which, as I said, even Fox News can't deny it.
You just framed it like Donald Trump swanned into the Senate and is bullying Mitch McConnell.
That's exactly what he's doing.
And that is horse manure.
Exactly what he's doing.
That is exactly the way that it was written by the media.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.